decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Non, ferme ta gueule.
When
Je vais à
Stanley
gauche cette
came
fois.
to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Ok, la salle de réunion.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Ok, en bas, il y a quoi? C'est le parking.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that.
Comment
And
la
in such a
voiture elle est rentrée
competitive
là?
economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy.
Non, putain.
And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all.
Putain, je me rappellerai
None
jamais
of
de
it
l'heure.
made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down?
Putain, c'est vrai.
Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too
Oh
strange.
non,
This can't be
frère.
real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just
Bécate.
hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring
putain.
real-life job pushing buttons.
Je suis en train
I
de
may
refaire la
as
même
well
chose à chaque
enjoy
fois.
this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground.
Il ferme pas sa gueule, lui. Oh,
Then he
putain.
imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up.
Putain.
How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head.
Où je
One
suis?
he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself? Believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself?
Ça fait 2 heures que je tourne en
Stanley is
rond.
as awake right now as he's ever been
Et
in
il parle,
his
il
life.
parle, il parle, il arrête pas de
Now,
parler.
hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream.
Ferme ta
Did the voice
gueule.
not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just...
Oui,
He
si je
would
peux
prove
seulement.
it. He would prove that he was in control,
Ouais.
that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up.
Voilà, ok.
He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a
peux
world
bouger en même
outside
temps.
this one.
Non.
Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons.
Non, c'est pas ce que je
Please.
veux.
It's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always
Non, c'est
been.
pas ce que je veux, Zabi.
My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine.
La vie de ma mère, je vais le soulever.
I am okay.
Je suis revenu là où j'étais.
Stanley began screaming, Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss, I have an office, I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real, I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am
Je suis
I?
perdu. Je vais péter
And
les plombs, les
everything
gars.
went black.
Je vais péter les plombs. La vie de ma mère, je vais péter les plombs.
This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
Comment ça, c'est l'histoire d'une femme mariée là?
Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments, she considered the strange
Je suis
man.
mort?
He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal.
Mais ferme ta gueule!
I am sane. I am in control of my mind. And then she turned and ran.
Me dis pas je suis mort, frère. Oh, ma vie, sur ma vie, je suis revenu. Et quelle heure? 11h20. I hate Sundays. Est-ce que ça veut dire qu'on est dimanche? Pourquoi je fais ça, moi aussi? Pourquoi je fais ça? Alors, il est 11h... 11h20.
All of his co-workers were
Oh,
gone.
il répète
What
encore!
could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Awaiting input. J'ai appuyé, c'est devenu violet. Enfin, ça a avancé. Ok, je peux toucher au truc. Mais ça sert à rien, j'ai l'impression. Pourquoi ils s'éteignent? Je me vois même pas dans le miroir. Pourquoi y a pas mon reflet? C'est une autre salle. Donc je peux arriver de l'autre côté en fait. Ok, je peux revenir.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Ouais, c'est bon. Jusque là on est bon. La salle de réunion.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Hoping he might find an answer. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Ok. Juste là, jusque là on est bon. Et appuie sur tout, mon frère. Ça marche pas. Attends, tout à l'heure je pouvais pas venir ici. Tout à l'heure cette porte elle s'ouvrait pas. Business stratégie. Attends. Tout à l'heure j'ai vu une sortie, donc je vais prendre la sortie.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean? Stanley wondered aloud to nobody. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this. Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs.
Mais non, je
Trying
suis en
to
train
input
d'essayer un autre
anything on the
code.
device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was
Je suis
2845.
obligé de faire 2, 8, 4, 5. Je me suis dit peut-être que... Peut-être qu'il est en train de me
Yet
donner un code qui va me
incredibly, by
niquer.
simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened
Tout à
passageway.
l'heure, il y avait une sortie que je vais prendre. Là, il va me raconter sa vie encore.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control
Moi, je me
Facility.
casse. Escape.
Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent
Nique
death.
sa mère, j'y vais, même s'il y a une mort violente.
The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track.
Oui, mais je reviens pas.
At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
Je vais mourir, c'est ça? Non, je vais pas mourir. Normalement. Ouh, je suis mort. Oh putain. Oh, je suis pas mort.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever.
No.
Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is.
Mais je vais mourir.
Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. And so he resigned
No.
and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
Non, 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 non. Non.
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws.
Pourquoi c'est une
In
femme
a
qui parle?
single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine
Oh,
crushed
putain, je suis
every
mort.
bone in his body, killing him instantly.
Boum. Oh, je suis tombé. Ah! Je suis pas mort. Oh, je suis pas mort. Oh la vie de ma mère, je suis pas mort. The Stanley Parable.
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back
Pourquoi?
in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish? When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same.
Ouais, j'ai fini le
Do
jeu.
you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
Ah bon? Ces deux portes ouvertes constituent la toute première pierre du game design de... Le reste du jeu a émergé à partir de ce point de départ comme une exploration de la contradiction posée par cette pièce. On bat les couilles en fait. Armoire de rangement. Pourquoi maintenant c'est écrit en français? Oui, vous me racontez comment vous avez fait le jeu, les gars. Tableau de paysage. D'accord, m'en bat les couilles. Ok, ça c'est quoi? Son de bouton. Une sélection des sons entendus dans le jeu. Chaque son et son mélange de frappe au clavier de tonalité. D'accord. Donc en fait... Stanley Parable, remerciement. Ok, mais je vais à gauche, je vais à droite. Éteindre, éteindre, éteindre. Là, il y a des portes. Est-ce qu'elles s'ouvrent? Non. Et derrière, qu'est-ce qu'il y a? Il n'y a rien du tout. Ok, la meuf, tout à l'heure, elle a dit que voulait faire le narrateur, étant donné que Stanley était déjà mort. Donc, je suis décédé. D'accord. Jusque-là, je te suis. L'une des premières versions de la salle de maintenance. Ok, 431, 436. Zone de guerre? Que c'était boussé la plaque trop loin et que c'était peut-être trop plat par rapport au ton du jeu. Ce qui n'était pas notre but. Ok, on a les... Ok, oh, d'accord. En fait, c'est le crédit de la fin, en fait. Image générateur. Nous avons demandé aux gens d'envoyer des questions par email au narrateur. Nous comptions nous en servir pour promouvoir encore le jeu, mais nous n'avons jamais trouvé vraiment comment les exploiter. Voilà une sélection de ces emails. Will the Stanley have... How do you make... How do you make the... Ah frère, Bureau de Stanley. Ok. Maquette du game design. Bureau du compte à rebours. Fin de la liberté. Ok, par là, je sais pas ce qu'il y a. What the fuck? C'est quoi ça? Modèle de fin relaxante. Ok, donc il y a plusieurs fins. Par contre, le problème, c'est que je me suis perdu, là. Ouais, je m'en bats les couilles, ok. Là, il y a quoi? Oh, c'est la map. Salle de réunion. Ok, voilà, ok. Plan de maintenance. Correctement et quoi après les doigts qu'elle joue les ont pratiqué plusieurs. Nous avons discuté d'un certain nombre de plans, mais finalement c'est la version la plus simple qui a fait l'unanimité. Une option. Obey, disobey. Ok. Ok, donc c'était selon mes choix, mais moi j'ai juste pris la touche sortie en fait. L'émetteur de l'appartement. En fait, je suis sorti très rapidement moi. En fait, je suis sorti par la touche sortir. Enfin, je suis sorti par... T'as compris, frère. Mais vous savez, je suis encore en panique là parce que je pensais que c'était un jeu d'horreur, mais finalement, c'est un jeu qui te guide. Ah.
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free.
Ok. Et c'est quoi? Activer. Donc ça c'est moi. Donc je suppose que si je désactive, je meurs.
Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen.
Pourquoi je suis
But
revenu
listen
ici?
to me. You can still save these two. You can stop the program before they both fail. Push escape and press quit. There's no other way to beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now and it'll be your only true choice. Whatever you do, choose it. Don't let time choose for you. Don't let...
Oh, je suis mort. Tout à l'heure, je suis pas mort. Cette fois, je suis mort. La fin n'est jamais la fin. Mais en fait, j'ai rien fini du tout.